Good evening and welcome to tonight's webinar on Virtual Business Sports and Entertainment 2.0. I want to thank you all for joining us tonight, and we appreciate you being here. This is the first webinar that we're offering like this, so excuse us if there are any hiccups along the way. We will appreciate your feedback afterwards. Just let us know if there's anything that we can do to improve in the future with these sessions that will so that they'll be more beneficial for you. And my name is Maureen. I'll be taking you on a tour of the simulation, and we're all very excited with this new release of Virtual Business Sports and Entertainment. We've converted it to a completely web-based simulation. Which means there's no installation. This simulation is Mac, PC, and iPad compatible. I just want to let you all know that we do have the voice feature turned off for the session. And the reason we're doing that is because there's too many participants to have everybody talking. If there were a lot of questions, it would be hard to get through the session. So what we do ask is if you're having any issues, technical issues, you use the chat feature so that you can just send us your questions, and our technical support people can help you out and get you started or get you going with any problems that you're having. Please save all questions about the simulation until the end of the session. At that time, I'll be able to address the questions and answer so that everybody can hear the answers. And at that time, you'll just use the Q&A feature. If you can't see the chat or the Q&A feature, up towards the top center of your screen, you should be able to see a green tab which will pull down a menu for you, and you'll be able to click on chat or the Q&A. And so then a panel or a window should appear on the right-hand side of your screen, and you'll be able to type in questions there. Right now, I am on the login page for the simulation. As an instructor, you will be set up with an account. We'll email you your login information, and you'll just be able to come right to this page and sign in the first time you use the simulation. Your students will all have their own accounts as well. What they'll do, though, is they'll come to this same page, and they're going to click the Register Now button. And then what they'll do is they'll fill in their name, create a password for themselves. They're going to type in a course key, which you will give them. You'll have a unique course key for each course that you have under your account. And there is a way for students to register if they don't have a personal email address or they don't want to use one. There is a way for them to register without their own email address, and they'll do that just by clicking here. So we'll go back to this page, and I'm just going to sign into the simulation right now. Once you log in, you'll see a list of your courses here, and if a course has expired or ended, it will become minimized for you, but you can always get back to your courses by clicking on a link to expand it in case you ever had to get back to grades. You'd be able to do that. You do have access to a feature here called Go to Assignments, and that allows you to see all of the lessons and the project that are included with the simulation, just like the students would see. So you're able to go through all of the simulation on your own so that you can become familiar with it. And right now, I just like to take the time to go through the project a little bit here so that I can show you the new views in the simulation and just some new features that we have in 2.0. So right now, I'm in the concert view. This is a brand new view to 2.0, and the way you would get there is there's a views menu up here, and this is actually the stadium view. So this is where also the football games will be played, but it does turn into a concert view if you have scheduled a concert. So what I'll do now is I'm just going to click the Start button, and we'll let it run through a concert so you can see what happens. Obviously, it's daytime right now, and the concerts will start at night. You can see the fans are entering the stadium. You have all your ushers and security staffing the stadium. For concerts, you do have 2 additional seating sections. So when you have football games, you're worried about all these seating sections up here. When you've scheduled a concert, you're going to have these 2 sections on the ground that you're responsible for as well. You have to Okay, so now we have the concert going on. It's nighttime. You can see all your fans coming into the stadium. And then soon you'll see the band actually come onto the stage. So we have our band on the stage now. And then if you don't have your staffing quite right, you can run into a problem that you're seeing here where a bunch of fans rush the stage, which can cause a problem for you. You can have lawsuits and fines. And so when you are planning for your event, to book a concert, we have this new screen here that would pop up under the Actions menu. And you have a list of available bands that you can book for your concerts. And you can see a bunch of different information about these bands, such as the fee that they charge, how much they're going to demand in advance to book them, what their average ticket sales are, their average ticket prices. So all that information is listed here. And when you want to book an event, you'll just click the button here to book that event. So right now we're watching the Bon Jovial concert. We also have another concert that we booked coming up, Rodeo Road. So all that information is here on this screen. Also, I was talking about ticket pricing before. So you're going to schedule your ticket pricing separately from the games. So your football games, you'll schedule here. You'll just choose the game you want to set the prices for, and then you would type in your prices here, and then click Set Ticket Prices. Then you have this other view that you can go to on the ticket price screen, which is for your concerts. So then you'd want to select the event for which you'd like to book schedule the prices, and then you're going to type in your prices here. And as I mentioned before, you have 2 additional seating sections that you have to worry about pricing. So you have your sections up here plus your 2 down here for the concerts. And you can go ahead and schedule for all your games at once if you want to do that, or you can do 1 game at a time if you want the flexibility of being able to change ticket prices as you move through the season. Same for the concerts. If you had more than 1 concert, you could schedule all the prices all at once, or you could wait and schedule them as you move along within your season. Also, for these concerts, you have to worry about your staffing, and you'll have these reports that you can refer to called the event reports. So you'd be able to look and see what games you have scheduled, what concerts you have scheduled, and you'd be able to click on any of those to get more details. So this is an event that already happened. It was a football game. You can see the revenue you made for the game, if you sold out, how many tickets you sold, information about your concessions. Any customer comments would be listed here. If you had any fines or lawsuits, that would all be listed here as well. So all the information that you're going to get before a game will be listed here by clicking the details. So all that information won't be filled in until after the game, but you'll be able to see how many tickets you've sold beforehand, which is going to help you with staffing and the other things, parking, that you have to schedule before a game. The other view that, actually I'm going to finish the concert off right here so we can get beyond the concert. And then our event report pops up right here. You can see we saw the fans rushing the stage before, and there was a lawsuit because of that. Now, I just want to pop over here into our new concessions view. So this is also a new view that we've added to version 2.0. And so in this view, you're going to see your workers will be here, your fans moving in and out of the concessions area, and you have this concession screen that you're going to work with. So you're able to determine how many concession stands you want open during the events, how many employees per stand, what type of items you want to offer at your concession stand, how you're going to price them, how many units to buy. And again, you have all this information prior to games that's going to tell you an estimate of how many fans will be there, which is going to help you with staffing, determining how much to buy of things, etc. So all that information will be right here for you. And you may want to change it back and forth between concerts and football games because your expected attendance may be less or more depending on which event it is. The other views we have available are the city view. The city view, the parking view and again the stadium view. So we did have a city view in 1.0, but we have updated graphics in this view. This is where you will see cars if they're parking in satellite lots or trying to get into the parking lot that's attached to the stadium. You're also able to click on these different businesses and try to make sponsorship offers, to try to get sponsorships for your stadium. And so if you wanted to offer something to the law associates firm, if you wanted to offer a scoreboard, a skybox, for example, you can make an offer. And if the offer is accepted or rejected, you'll get a letter back from that company. So also, we had the parking view, which was included in 1.0 as well, but again has updated graphics. So the cars you'll see coming into the parking lot here, fans going in and coming out of the stadium. The buses from the satellite lots will be coming into this area. And then your stadium view turns back into a football stadium after any concerts that you've scheduled. And again, you'll see fans coming in, your workers in this view, the games being played. If there are any issues, such as trash being thrown on the field, you know, bad field conditions, any of that will take place in here, and you'll be able to see that played out within the simulation. And this is the new staffing screen for this simulation. We have ushers, stadium security, ticket takers, parking cashiers, parking attendants. So those are all very similar to version 1.0, but we give some additional information here as far as capacity of, you know, how much each staff member would be able to handle. So there's a lot of math, a lot of calculating that the students have to do to figure out what the right amount of staff will be for their events. So it's very critical that they pay attention to their events reports to get that information before scheduling their workers, the prices, concessions, all that before each game. You'll also notice we have this new parking screen here. In 1.0, students weren't required to set prices for their main parking lot or their satellite lots. So that is something new that's introduced here in 2.0. They have to set a price for both those types of lots. They have to determine how many satellite lots they want to have for each game, and then how many buses per satellite lot that they will reserve to bring the fans to and from the stadium. And again, we have more information here telling about capacity and how many cars and how many fans per car. So again, the students will be doing a lot of calculations with this as well. And right here we have promotion social media. So this is allows students to use social media to promote their games. And we're going to go into this area in more detail. I'm going to go into actually one of the new lessons that we offer is the promotion social media lesson. So we're going to go into that in more detail in just a little bit here, and we'll review that information. Then we have our new traditional media screen, and we have our print media, TV/cable, and radio. So students are also able to use the traditional forms of media to promote their football teams, their concerts, using those forms as well. And we did just review the sponsorships. The sponsorships are accessed through the city view, where you can click on a building and see what type of money they have available to secure sponsorships. And then this is our new player management screen. So we have a list of positions up here, and you'll see who you currently have on your team under that position, and then the available players that you can try to sign to your team. And we have a lot of helpful information up here. If you just click on any of the links, it's going to tell you what these abbreviations stand for, and if higher is better, lower is better, all that information will be there, what salaries you're currently paying, and then who you can get for you know, a better salary, less salary, and if their statistics are better than the players that you currently have. Then you also see up here what your total salaries total, and that's obviously very helpful, so that students can they're budgeting, try to keep it around a certain amount. And then we also have our our market research screen. It's similar to the 1.0 version where you can ask certain questions in order to get information about the fans in your city. And you can, the segmenting is a lot easier than the first version, where you can choose to see if you only want to see results for males, for example. You can choose there. You can change the question that you're asking and segment the information so that you're just viewing the target that you're looking for. And so we took a look at the events report before, but we also have the financials report. And you can look at this in 3 different forms. You have low detail, medium level of detail, and high detail. And if you just scroll down, you can see all the information pertaining to the concerts or the games that you're running, as far as your expenses, what you're making in ticket sales and concessions, parking lot, what your revenues are there, and again your expenses as you move along, your profit at the bottom, your revenue at the top. So all that information is there for the students. You can look at previous seasons or your current season. So if you want to look back and see how you were doing in a previous season, that's available to you. And then over here, this is where we would be able to save work. There's an actions journal for students to look at. Students can restart their lesson if they don't like how things are going. The simulation, because it is online, the students, it will save automatically every so many minutes, every few minutes. But if the students needed to exit quickly and do a manual save, that's available to them right here under this File menu. And again, we can take a look at the Actions Journal so they can see a history of what they've done throughout the simulation. So that's available there. Now I would like to take you over. I'm going to actually log into the simulation under a different account because I'd like to take you through a different lesson here so I can show you what that setup looks like. So before we were looking at the mogul, sports mogul project, and that allowed us to control all the features in the simulation. With these individual lessons, so you see a full list here of the lessons that are included in the simulation and the project. The individual lessons, the students are limited as to what they can control so that they do see the direct impact that their decisions are having on that part of their business. And then the idea is to bring that all together collectively and work on the project after they've mastered all those concepts. And you'll also notice that students, you wouldn't be able to get to this pricing and promoting a band lesson unless you had done the previous work on the previous lesson. Once you do that, the next lesson will open up for the students. So they would have to be forced to do the reading first, then the reading quiz, then the math quiz, and then the simulated exercise. As an instructor, you do have the ability to jump around to access the different lessons so that if you needed to get to something quickly, you just be able to click on this Jump To feature up here. And if I just wanted to go to the sponsorships lesson and I wanted to get to the sim exercise part of the lesson, I would just click on that link right there. So you'll see the new lessons that we have here that we've added in 2.0 are concessions, promotion with traditional media, and promotion with social media. And right now, I'd like to take you into the promotion with social media lesson. So we're going to jump to that exercise. So all these lessons are set up the same way, where the students are going to have a series of steps listed here on the left-hand side of the screen. Most of the steps will have a question after at the end where they're going to have to choose an answer, and they won't be able to move on until they've found the correct answer. So for this particular lesson, we're going to learn how to advertise with social media. And so if we click the next button here, it says we have a concert booked with a rock band that's coming up, and we haven't done any advertising. So we're just going to click the start button, and we're going to move through the concert, and then we're going to have an event report pop up at the end, and we're going to be asked to look up some information in that report. You can see again the fans are coming. We're not really sold out here. We don't have an overwhelming amount of tickets that we've sold. So the question asks, what was your total attendance? And they can use the report here to answer that information. So they're looking at this number right here, 10,692. When they've answered a question correctly, it will show up in green right here. And then it says we've got another concert coming up, so we want to do better. So we didn't do any advertising with that last event, so we're going to move on here and try to do some promotion through our social media screen. As students move along through the lessons, they can take a look at their progress by clicking on this link down here, which says Working on Steps. And you can see that for the questions that you answer, you can get a total of 80 points if you answer all those questions correctly on the first attempt. And then if you don't answer correctly, you're going to have points deducted, but that will start calculating the information for you down there. Each lesson has a goal at the end, and that's where you're going to make up the final 20 points to give you a total of 100 points that you can earn for each assignment. So for this particular part right here, we're going to go into the social media screen, and we are going to put a headline on our ad. And you'll notice that it gives you a heads up down here telling you need to add a headline, you need to add the date where the event is taking place. And once you start adding that information, the heads up will disappear if you have everything that you should have for a social media ad. And then for each ad, the students are able to choose an image. And if they don't pick an image that's relevant to the event that they're trying to promote, that will have an impact on the effectiveness of the ad. So for this concert, I'm not going to want to use the image of a football. You could use the image of the microphone. There are other images to select as they move through. For this particular one, it is asking us to click on the image of the microphone. So we'll select that image. Then as you move down, you can target or narrow your audience. So right now, if we were to just advertise to everybody, we'd be looking at over 1 million people. If you start deciding to only advertise to people who listen to heavy metal, it brings it down to 127,147 people. So you'll notice the more things you check off, you're bringing your target down. And this question just asking what are our choices for defining the audience. And we're going to, obviously it's location, age, gender, interests, music, and music preference. And the concert that we're planning right now is targeting classic rock fans. So we're going to click on that option right here. And what that did is it brought our audience down to 311,580 people. So we'll select that answer for that question. And then you also have to name your ad. You have to enter a budget. So we want to spend no more than $50,000 on this particular budget. And then we're going to click book the ad and then click OK. And then we're going to click the Run To button, and this is a nice feature that wasn't available in 1.0, but now you're able to run to a specific date, and it will stop right on that date for you, so you don't have to worry about monitoring the date that's passing by up here. You won't blow by it. So we'll click September 15th. And we'll run through the days of the week until we come up to the actual event. Now what we want to do is see how effective our social media ad was. So if you go back to the social media screen and you scroll down to the bottom here, you can see our ad, the ad one that we just created. So far we've had 16,236 clicks, and this is the actual cost of the ad, so we're under our budget right now. Okay, and so if we click start, we're going to actually watch another concert. So you can see our fans coming in. You can see that now we have actually more sections filled than we did in the previous game. In the previous game, if you remember, we sold let's see, 10,692 tickets. For this particular concert, with the promotion that we did, we've sold 16,071 tickets. So that's an improvement over the last event when we didn't do any advertising. Now for this last step here, as I mentioned before, the students are going to be challenged with a goal, and that's where they're going to earn their last 20 points for the total of 100 that they can earn for each of the assignments. And so if they were to go on and try to meet that goal, their goal was selling 6,000 tickets while spending only 50,000 on social media. If they're successful, they'll get a message telling them that they've reached the goal, and then they'll be able to exit the simulation. And if they're not successful after this next event coming up, they are able to keep trying. And if they decide that they've made a mistake along the way and they want to start from the beginning again, they always have that option to restart a lesson. And so I'm going to actually jump back over into my other browser that I was in before. And I want to take some time now to go over some of the instructor features with you. I'm sorry, before I do that, I also wanted to point out in this view that for each lesson there are 4 elements that you can choose to include for each of them. You have a chapter reading, a reading quiz, a math quiz, or a simulated exercise. And let's just open up one of the readings here. So as I mentioned before, students can't get to the next part of a lesson until they've clicked on the link to do the previous part. So they'll have these PDFs that pop up, and students can actually, they have objectives that they're trying to accomplish through the reading, information that they're trying to take away from it. So we have different information pertaining to the topic that they're going to be covering in the simulated exercise. There's some key terms for them. There's some key math concepts. So again, this is going to be part of every lesson. They'll have these chapter readings, so this content that they can review, which is going to help them and give them a background before actually doing the simulated exercises. And then they will have, after they do the reading, you can choose to include a reading quiz for them to do. So they'll be asked a series of questions for each lesson, and they'll have to choose the correct answer. Right now, this quiz I'm showing you already has the correct answer marked, but they will have to choose the correct one, and then they'll be able to move through the quiz. So there are 10 questions, 10 reading questions. And then there are also the math quizzes after they do the reading quizzes. So again, they're going to have 10 questions for their math quiz. And then after they complete each part of the assignment, their grade is going to be recorded here. And once they finish their simulated exercise, obviously their grade will be recorded there as well. They can always mouse over their sim grade to see a breakdown of the points that they earned for that particular assignment. Now I'm going to jump back to the main instructor page, and we're going to take a look at the automatic grading that is available in the simulation. So in 1.0, you didn't have a grade book that was maintained for you. So with this version, all the grades are recorded. So as students start enrolling in your course, their names will start appearing here. You're going to be able to have as many courses as you'd like. So if you have 3 different sections of students using the simulation, you're going to want to create 3 different courses so you don't have all your students grouped into one area. And then as they begin completing their work, their grades, percentage grades will be recorded here. And if they haven't completed something yet, but they've started something, an NC will appear, so you know they've accessed it, but they haven't finished it. If they haven't done anything, it'll just be an empty box, so you'll know they haven't even started on that part of the lesson. If you scroll over the sim grade, again, the students could see their own breakdown of points, and you have access to that as well. So you can see how many points they got for questions that they've answered correctly, and then how many points they got for the goal, how many times they've reset. So if you want to limit them to, if you say you can only reset 2 times, 3 times, and then you have the ability to deduct points if you want, if they've done too many resets. And then over in this area right here, we have a current average grade, we have a total grade. So this current average is just a running average of the work that they've completed thus far. This total grade is a weighted average, and it's based on all the work that the student's going to do for the course. And the project is actually more heavily weighted than the individual lessons. So you don't really want to look at that grade until they've finished all of the work for the course. Okay, and then let's see, we're going to jump back to our instructor page right here. And you'll notice you have some tools here that can help you configure your course. If you decide that you don't want the math quizzes to be a part of the assignments, you would just uncheck the math quiz and it just is automatically taken away. Students won't have to do that part for each lesson. If you ever just want to add them back in, you're able to check that box and they've been added back in. You have an activate heading over here, and this just means that if I have a check mark in the box, that means the student can access assignment 1. They can work on it, but they won't be able to work beyond assignment 1 because I have unchecked assignment 2, and anything following students don't have access to it. So when you want to give that back to students, you would just put a check mark in the box, and now students would be able to access assignment 2. Your end date for your course is up here. You have the ability to change that at any point. Your course key will always be listed here. So when students are registering, they'll have that information. One other area where you're able to configure your assignments is right here, this link under Advanced Features. And you're able to exclude or include lessons. So if I wanted to remove sponsorships, if I didn't want students to have to do that assignment, I would just exclude it. So I highlight it and remove it. If at any time you want to put that back into the course, you're able to do so by just clicking on the assignment over here and pushing it. You can push it back over using the left and right arrows. And if you want to change the order of the assignments, you can do that. You just highlight the lesson and move it up or down. You can also configure your course due date for the course by clicking the calendar over here. And you can choose the due date for your course and what time you want it to end. So you can do that for each assignment if you want. If you don't want it to do that, by default, it would just end on the end. It would be due by the end date of the course. And you'll notice we have this team feature here are these 2 icons for the sports and entertainment mogul. So if you want students to be able to participate in teams, you can do that with this project. By default, you have this scoreboard feature that's always turned on. So for this project, students will see a scoreboard under their account, which allows them to see who's leading in the class based on profit for their for their franchise, so they'd be able to see who's in first place and so on. And then if you want to allow them to work in teams, you would just check this box right here next to this blue icon, and you'd submit your change. And then you're going to go back to your main page here so that you can access your student progress area. And then you're going to see that blue icon appear here. And if you click on that, that will bring you to a page where you can drag and drop students onto teams. Or you could have us, the system auto-assign your teams. You can just say, you know, how many teams you want created and click the auto-assign, and it just will create the teams randomly for you. It's important to know that if you do decide to have students work in teams on the project, only one team member will be able to sign in at a time to access the project file. So our thought behind that was that students would be together working at a computer, collaborating, communicating, and working on their franchise together. And also on your main instructor page, you have a lot of helpful documents that are available to you under the instructor documentation area. You have a Getting Started document that talks about logging in, getting your students registered. You have your lesson plans with objectives. You have answer keys for all the different parts of each lesson. And with math, you'll actually have the calculations done out for you, so that's there in that document. And then you have this advanced features document to help you with configuring your course, doing, you know, organizing the teams like I was just showing you. So all that information is there and available to you. And I also you know, just want to take a moment here to review the fact about how flexible this program is. You know, when trying to implement it into your classroom, as you could see, you know, for the first semester you use it, if you just wanted students to do the sim exercises and you wanted to exclude everything else, you can do that. If you want to have them do quizzes at a later time, you can add that back in. You can, as I mentioned before, reorganize the order of the lessons and to fit the concepts that you're covering in the course at the time you're covering them. You're able to do that. Usually, typically, I think instructors have just fit in the assignments as they correspond to what they're covering in the class. We do have instructors that use it as a capstone project. You know, they are able to use other materials throughout the semester, have the students you know, learn about these different concepts and then use this to reinforce everything at the end of the semester. Because it's online, you now have the ability to allow students to work from home. You know, they can work anywhere that they have internet access. And so if you just wanted to assign this for homework, you can do that. If students don't finish during class time, they can pick it up at home. If students are sick and they, you know, have missed weeks of class, it's very easy for them to be able to catch up because they can now access this from home, whereas before they had to be on site in your school working on the information. Some other helpful features for you under the student progress area. If you click on any of the students' names, you'll be brought to a page where if, for example, you don't want students to have to do things in order, you can uncheck this box here, and that allows that student to go out of order when completing the assignments. You can reset lessons for students. You can do any part of the lesson. So if student just did poorly only on the math quiz part, you can just reset that part of the lesson. You can grant due date extensions for individual students. So if a student was absent or had some circumstance that you felt that they should have an extension, you're able to do that. You can auto override grades for the simulation parts of the exercises if you don't, you know, for example, you think the student worked hard on it and you wanted to give them more than the 80% that they, earned on the simulation through our system, you could override it, give them a 90%, 95%, whatever you feel you want to do for that. You have that ability. You can transfer students to different courses, remove students from a course, reset passwords, email your students, so that's all done here through this interface. Okay. And I'd like to take time now to see if we do have any questions. You'd be able to use the Q&A area and ask questions, and I can address them with everybody. Okay. Sorry, I'm just trying to get to the Q&A area here. I didn't. Okay. So we have a list of questions here that we can review now. As I use this for grading and kids like to cheat, I would like a way to hide a student's final project when finished so I don't have to delete or move them, but just turn off their sim so that they aren't opening their sim to give their friends the solution. Hide a student's final project. Well, I guess what you could do in that situation would be to set a due date for the assignment so that it's a date that's in the past, and then you can grant extensions for the other students who haven't finished it yet. And then you can take that extension away once they have finished it. That's a way to get around it right now, but I'll certainly, we can discuss it back here to think of maybe an easier way to do that for you. But I think that would be a way around it right now, would be to set a due date and then have that be in the past and let students, other students that haven't finished, give them extensions through that student progress area. That probably would be the way that you can get around it right now, but I can certainly, we'll look into it here and see if there's something easier we can do in the future. Another question here, I make students score 70% on reading math before they can continue. However, the retest is in the same order, so they just write down the right response and retake it to get 100%. Any way of mixing up choices in the quizzes in a retake option. So yes, we've had that request in the past. We do updates every so often. Usually in the summer, that would be a big time to do some revisions and make some updates available for you for the following school year. And we have heard that from instructors. So that is something that we're looking into, to do the reordering and mixing things up so that it wouldn't be easy to just click through and put the answers in that they've already discovered by going through it the first time. For special needs students, I'd like to skip the math, but not the other students. Short of putting them in a separate course, is there any way to individualize what each student has to complete? Unfortunately, no. That has to be done at a universal level right now. Like you're doing, you would have to put somebody else into another course so that you can customize it for those students that you want to be able to skip the math. So I don't have another way for you really to do that right now, except for probably doing what you're doing by creating that separate course. But we've had this request as well, and so that's something else we can look into for a possible future revision to allow something like that where you'd be able to exclude some students, exclude some parts of it for some students, but not others. Okay, turnaround gone. Somebody's asking about the turnaround lesson and if the reading PDFs are downloadable. The turnaround lesson, yes, we don't specifically have a turnaround assignment in this project. We're always looking for feedback like this, so for specific lessons that you're interested in seeing here in 2.0, that's again something that we'll review, and maybe that is a lesson that we can possibly include in the future in a revision. So thank you very much for asking about that one, and I'll be sure to ask our development team about the possibility of including that in the future. The PDFs are, you would be able to save those. You would be able to have the option to save them once you open them. You can treat it like you would a normal PDF that you have on your computer that you open. So you should be able to save them. That is possible. You can also, we've tried to eliminate the need for printing with this online version, but sometimes instructors still like to have handouts and have a tangible copy in the student's hands. So you can certainly print anything that you have access to. You can download them and make them accessible, like in a network folder if you want to have them access it that way. That is possible. Okay, we have another question here. How do you set up a multiplayer game? So we don't have multiplayer in the new online versions of the simulations. What we do have is the team-based format that I was showing you before, where you can put students into teams and they can see how they score against the other teams in your class and have a competition that way. This isn't the first we've heard about a request for a similar way of how we've done multiplayer in past versions with the installable versions. We have had some people ask about that, why we don't have it in this version. So what what we wanted to do first, getting these online versions out, was to make sure we got it right, just getting it into the online version and making sure we didn't have bandwidth issues and any problems with that. So now that we have it out there, things are working properly, we're not having reports of bandwidth issues, we are going to look into seeing if we can integrate a way of doing a similar multiplayer format that you've seen in previous versions. So our development team is aware that people would like to see this, and it's something that we're trying to work out. And it would be, as I said, any revisions that we're doing, are going to be automatically available to you. It's nothing that you're going to have to download. It's something that would just automatically happen for you during your licensing period. So you don't have to worry about updating your software or anything like that. That's the nice thing about the online version. Okay, and someone asked, just to be clear, 2.0 replaces VB Sports. So yes, Virtual Business Sports 1.0 was the first version, and then we have Virtual Business Sports and Entertainment 2.0, which is an upgrade to version 1.0. So it's just the newer version in an online format with more lessons, more views, more capabilities. So it is, in a sense, replacing 1.0. It doesn't mean you can't use your 1.0 anymore if you still had something that you wanted to use in there, but this is developed as an upgrade to the 1.0. Students can access answers on Cheat's website currently. Can the sims change from year to year regarding the numbers / answers? So we are aware that through the years, some students have posted certain things about the Sims on YouTube and different sites where they're able to share information. Unfortunately, we can't always prevent what's going on. We've asked sites to take certain things down at times, but that is a good point to try to change some things up regarding answers. So that's kind of, I think similar to asking us to mix things up as far as like reordering the questions when the students take a quiz and then retake it, and they just kind of fly through it now that they know the correct answer. So that's something that we can certainly look into to kind of change up what maybe questions are asked or the ordering of them. So that's something we'll certainly review with our developers as well. Oh, okay. So the person who asked about the turnaround lesson mentioned that they didn't want to see the turnaround again. Okay, so I will, but again, I mean, if there are other lessons or ideas that you have that you'd like to see, we always welcome feedback. So please, share any feedback. If you think of something after the session, we can always, you can always contact us and let us know of different features that you'd like to see in the newer version. We always appreciate that. It's helpful. It helps us when we're making revisions. We want to make it as a better product for you. Anything that we can do to improve, we always appreciate hearing from you. If they have already completed the individual project, can we reset the project and then change it to a team format for competition when everyone is done? So if they've already completed the project, you can't really do that without, well, you can. You would have to do what you said. You'd have to reset everybody's grade. So once they completed it individually, you would just go into the student progress area and you would reset everybody's project. So you'd make sure everybody was back to the beginning, and then you could switch on the team feature functionality. So you could do that. You do have to make sure every student is reset, though, if they had previously gone into that file, because it won't let you turn on the team feature if they aren't all reset. So that is possible. How are the challenges going to be, how are they going to be run? So are you asking about the VBC, the DECA Virtual Business Challenges? If that's what you're referring to, then the new, this coming school year, the DECA Virtual Business Sports Challenge will be based on version 2.0. And students will have their own online accounts to access the simulation. They won't have to download anything. They're just going to access it online through their accounts. They won't have to upload anything. So a lot of headaches are going away with the new online version without having to have text install and the CD-based version, having to upload scores and run the risk of having problems with your network blocking things. So if that's not what you were referring to, if you weren't referring to the Virtual Business Challenge, please just let me know. And then I would love to see the turnaround. Okay, so we've heard from another instructor here who says, I would love to see the turnaround back. People can always delete it if they don't want it. So that's true. If there are any lessons in there that you don't want students to have to complete, you saw that capability of excluding lessons. So that is always a possibility if you just don't want them to do something or have to do something. How will pricing work? Do you pay for a course key once, or do you pay again each year? So for this particular simulation, it's offered in as a 5-year license. So once you pay an initial license fee, you get to use the simulation for 5 years without having to pay an annual fee, and you don't pay for a course key. So you can create an unlimited amount of courses throughout that 5-year period, and you'll have your 3 licensing options. You would have a mini license option, a lab license, or a site license. The mini license allows you to use the simulation with up to 5 students logged in at the same time from your school. The lab would be up to 30 students that could log in at the same time, and the site would be an unlimited amount of students from your school that could log in at the same time. So to answer that question, there's not an annual fee. It's just a one fee for 5 that gives it to you for 5 years. Are the quiz questions available in a test bank to reuse for pop quizzes? That's a great question. So we have them in a PDF format under the instructor documentation area. So you could certainly take the quizzes from there and create your own quizzes if you wanted to offer pop quizzes like that. But that, we could certainly discuss back here maybe an easier way for you to access those other than a PDF file. Maybe we could create an easier way, like a Word document or something that makes it easier for you to copy and paste things and mix up the questions so that you can do pop quizzes. So I think, okay, here we go. Here's some more questions. Oops. How many teams will there be at nationals? Okay, so for the DECA Virtual Business Challenge, we have 16 teams that make it to nationals. We have 2 qualifying rounds during the school year. There are 2 winners from each region from each round that make it to nationals, with the one stipulation that only 1 team per chapter per school per round can make it to nationals. So you'd have 16 teams total there, 4 from each region. And then you have the top 4 that would win prize money at nationals. And can you look at a way to customize the lesson quiz questions for instructors? Can you look at a way to customize the lesson quiz question for? Yeah, so I'm thinking maybe you're wanting to be able to randomize the questions, or I don't know if are you maybe looking to be able to bring questions together for different topics, so that you're asking about maybe the sponsorships lesson and, you know, the promotion lesson and mixing the questions that way, or are you just looking for a random order? Maybe if you could just send me a note on that, and then I could clarify for you. And I just like to let everybody know as well, if you want the ability to go through these lessons, you know, have the time to be able to go through them on your own so you can really evaluate them and get into them, we can certainly set up demo accounts. So if anybody's interested after seeing the demo this evening, you can contact us, and we are more than happy to set up a demo account so that you can have access to all the lessons so you can evaluate them. Let's see. So about the first question before was, can you look at a way to customize the lesson quiz questions for instructors? And the follow-up question was, the built-in quizzes change the wording to include class instruction. So you're just looking to add your own questions in there, maybe like our assessment CD used to do. So we can certainly, you can't do that now as the simulation or the quizzes are currently available to you, but we can certainly look into the possibility of offering that in a possible future revision. So again, I would bring that up to the developers for you. I retype the questions in ExamView when I do the lessons myself, and can do all kinds of things with the ExamView versions for tests. Also can change the math numbers, etc. So that is maybe another thought as to how you'd be able to do that, you know, customize the questions for yourself, maybe like one of our instructors is currently doing. So that probably would give us more motivation to make them available to you in a different format so that you could import them in such a way to do something like that. So again, I certainly will bring that up to the instructors. Okay. Do the teams compete against each other or the sim? So during the qualifying rounds, they will be competing just against the simulation. Everybody will be competing using the same template file. So everybody has the same settings. They're all starting at the same point. It's just what they do to manipulate the features that they can control in that file, where they're going to have the outcomes that they come out with and how they're scored, you know, based on their profit. And during the actual rounds at the ICDC, at nationals, they will be competing again against the sim. So there will be eight teams within each session competing for the best profit, but they're competing individually against the simulation. That's how we've run it with our other online sims this year, with Virtual Business Restaurant and the Personal Finance simulation. So I am assuming that we're probably going to be doing a similar format at nationals. I can't give you, you know, the final say on that because, you know, we don't necessarily have all that ironed out and lined up for next year's nationals. You know, we would make everybody aware, usually when we're posting our new format, rules, information for the coming year's challenges, we get that up on our site. So at this time, I think it's probably going to be similar to what we did at Nationals this year for the online simulations. Okay. I think that our time here, we're approaching 7 o'clock here, so I think the session is coming to an end. I do want to tell you again how much I appreciate everybody joining us tonight, and thank you for your patience during this first webinar that we've offered. Again, as I mentioned before, we'd love to have any feedback, anything that you think we can do in the future that would help you if we covered in these sessions. And I just want to invite you to either call us, email us if you have any questions after the session. As I said, if you want you know, a demo or anything like that, please feel free. Our email address is info, I-N-F-O, @knowledgematters.com. And you know, we'd love to hear your feedback or any information that you want to share with us. And thank you again so much. We appreciate it.